Hello and welcome. I'm Ijoma Onyato. Tonight, Senate in rowdy session over President Muhammadu Buhari's latest appointment of heads of government parastatals. Nigeria's main opposition party, the People's Democratic Party, threatens to pull out of the 2019 elections over vote-buying allegations and lack of confidence in INEC. Ekiti State Governor-elect Kayode Fayemi reveals plan to prove governance in Ekiti in the last 4 years as he presents certificate of return to President Buhari. And US President Donald Trump rejects proposal for Russia to interrogate US citizens.
On business news tonight, federal government engages additional 300,000 beneficiaries in the second batch of its NPower volunteer corps scheme.
And on sports news tonight, International Basketball Federation suspends 13 players after an on-court brawl during the 2019 World Cup qualifying tie between the Philippines and Australia on July the 2nd.
From Abuja, state governors demand more drastic action from security agencies to curb the spate of killings across the country.
We begin tonight from the National Assembly, where a rowdy session was controlled as senators today disagreed over President Muhammadu Buhari's new list of appointees for some federal parastatals. The lawmakers are alleging that the list seems to favour a particular section of the country. The president had sent a letter to the Senate requesting the confirmation of members of the governing boards of the Federal Roads Maintenance Agency. Our correspondent Terry Ikumi reports.
It is the final legislative sitting day of the week. The Senate President reads a communication from the President.
I forward here with the nominations of a chairman, a managing director, and 6 representatives drawn from each of the 6 geopolitical zones as members of the governing board of the Federal Road Maintenance Agency for confirmation by the Senate. Please accept, Mr. Senate President, the assurances of my highest esteem. Yours sincerely, Muhammadu Buhari.
This draws a point of order from the Deputy Senate President, citing nepotism, and the reaction of the Senate leader doesn't sit well with some of the lawmakers.
Over the last 2-3 weeks, we've had cause to either discuss this payment that has been announced today, or the NDIC, or the AMCOM, or Federal Civil Service Commission. The heads of all these parastatals have come from one particular part of Nigeria. He has restricted his consideration to very few. If you go to the larger picture, that issue is not supposed to be raised in the first place. So, Mr. President,
let me come in here. This matter is too sensitive for us to be speculating. We have a chairman of federal character. Let's ask him to carry out the exercise to us and give us a report.
The Senate President's intervention is, however, short-lived, as another appointment list is presented.
You will just raise the issue of federal character as a consensus payment. And we said we will wait for the federal character to report. While we are still doing that, another issue came up again. And that one is the Federal Civil Service Commission. In terms of appointment of issue, in terms of appointment of all the military establishments in the country, all the police, everything here is a website. Are you deciding? Are you going to decide? Are you going to decide?
The Senate President maintained that the Committee on Federal Character look into the issues and report back on Tuesday. The federal character principle, which has been enshrined in Nigeria's constitution since 1979, seeks to ensure that appointments to public service institutions fairly reflect the ethnic, religious, and geographic diversity of the country. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
To politics now, the Ekiti State governorship election may have come and gone, but the People's Democratic Party is saying that the lessons learned will to a large extent shape their decisions concerning participation in the forthcoming elections in 2019. The national chairman of the PDP, Mr. Uche Secondus, explains that the party is contemplating whether or not to participate in the 2019 elections because it has lost confidence in the Independent National Electoral Commission's ability to deliver credible elections. Mr. Secondus made the remarks at a meeting with members of the National Democratic Institute and the International Republican Institute, who were at the PDP National Secretariat to discuss the just concluded Agitate election and the forthcoming elections in 2019.
It is not because we are a party we must oppose. No. There are basic fundamental issues that needed to be addressed so that confidence can be restored. If not, we are yet to take that decision whether we participate or not, because we no longer have confidence on INEC, neither our own security. We are in dilemma. Every day, people are being killed across the country. The people are living in fear. And so, the issue of security is a huge challenge here in Nigeria. There's bloodletting everywhere. I'm quite sure that if this situation is not being induced by the federal government, so they will just cobble such areas off and then they come out with figures.
Now, if you ask different people about the problems and possible solutions to Nigeria's problems, they'll perhaps give you varying answers. And sometimes that's the way it goes when the issue of restructuring comes to the fore. There have been several agitations on the way to go, but little has been achieved as far as the issues are concerned. Some have argued that the nation needs to restructure before it goes into the elections next year. In this report, our political correspondent Seun Okimbaloye takes a look at the issues and some of the concerns over the term restructuring.
The agitations, street demonstrations, all have come under perhaps one of the most used terminology in our national life, restructuring.
We want good governance. We want to live in peace.
The agitations about the need for the different ethnic nationalities to sit down at a table and determine how the nation should be governed. Efforts of several conferences in the past have come to nothing. Eminent Nigerians have argued of what we really need to do as a people.
Nigeria must restructure its present governance architecture.
This is time to renegotiate Nigeria along federal lines, negotiated by our founding fathers to stem the tide of separatist feelings and agitations.
The call has been consistent, but what may be confusing is the interest of the political class. The ruling APC says it is bothered about the situation in the country, but it has decided to set up a committee to define the way to go, the Committee on Federalism.
The APC Committee on Federalism has recommended that the federation be rebalanced with more powers and responsibilities devolved to the states.
The President Muhammadu Buhari appears clear on those to bear the burden of determining the solution.
The National Assembly and the National Council of States are the legitimate and appropriate bodies for national discourse.
The National Assembly has attempted tackling some of the issues with the amendment of the Constitution, but one major aspect fell flat on its face: the devolution of power. The lawmakers are giving the matter a strong consideration.
And give the states, the powers and the authority, constitutional authority, to do some of these things that the federal government is doing. I think we would have done a lot. That's restructuring in and of itself.
Unbundle the federal government. We need to shorten the number of things that the federal government takes on, because they don't have the capacity to handle the things that they have lumped on themselves in the Constitution.
The agitation for restructuring is loud across the land, but the pace in addressing the issues appears sluggish. While the troubles of the average citizen deepens, the big question is what effect will the continued abandonment of the restructuring agenda have on the unity and development of Nigeria. Seun Okimbaloye, reporting for Channels Television News.
To discuss the call for restructuring and the current political climate, I'm being joined live from Abuja by the National Chairman of the Action Democratic Party, Yabagi Sani. Thanks a lot for joining us on the News at 10.
Thank you, madam.
Now, the agitation for restructuring is clearly not going away. In the last 1 week alone, we've had at least 3 groups, holding summits, talking extensively on the issue. Do you believe the country needs to be restructured?
Well, when you have a government that is not really in charge, what I mean to say is that there's a government, but there's no governance. And in a situation like that, what you find is chaos. And that is what's happening to this country. The government we have today lacks capacity, they lack vision, they lack direction, and they don't even understand the temperament. They don't understand what Nigeria needs at this point in time, which is good governance. We need to deepen democracy. What happened in Agitate State, for instance, is a lesson that I think Nigerians must take and then rise up and then say no to this charade, to mockery of democracy. This is why people are asking for restructuring, because all the governance issues that are supposed to be treated appropriately to the satisfaction of the citizenry is not happening. On all schools you find that the government is failing. So people are now frustrated, they are confused, they don't even believe in the project called democracy, and it's unfortunate. So this is why people are calling for restructuring. Okay, otherwise, we have a very benevolent constitution, like enable as a nation. The constitution you have of the Federal Republic of Nigeria constitution allows the National Assembly to progressively restructure all the aspects of the governance of the country. In terms of the economy, in terms of the political structures and things like that. You have what you call concurrent list, you have what you call the exclusive legislative list. So all these things are within the purview and the powers of the National Assembly. You also have some agencies of government that are charged with the responsibility of supervising, ensuring that the issue of revenue sharing and fixing of salaries and things like that. I'm talking about Revenue Mobilization and Fiscal Allocation Commission. That is a commission that is even above the president. So
okay, Mr. Sani, if I can just ask you, I'm sorry to have to cut in there. If I can just ask you, I'm going to take that as a yes from you. But my question actually is that for all those who weigh in on this restructuring debate, those who say restructuring should happen, what form should it take? That's the major question that you find at all the seminars and summits. How will it be executed fairly such that we don't end up where we started?
You can't have restructuring in a ongoing this administration that is on today, because you already have a president that does not believe in what you are talking about. The National Assembly itself are not really organized in a manner that they can respond to the needs of Nigerians, which is calling for this restructuring. Every right-thinking Nigeria will tell you that, yes, we need structuring, because the Nigerian system is not working. Everything is failing. Security aspect, economic progress of the country is, the economy itself is not diving. People are not safe. People are hungry, people are being killed. So these are the things that are making people to now say, let's look backward. But I believe this country has the capacity, the potential, the promise that we should look forward. We shouldn't look backward. I'm sure if we have the right leadership, in charge of the affairs of this country, nobody will think about, restructuring. You need to have a pragmatic, united, government that will address the issues of unity of this country, will address the issues of what affects the average Nigerian, in terms of how the everyday affairs of the person is addressed. So these are the issues that this country, this government we have today has lost its focus, and that is why people are desperate. People have lost confidence, like I said. Otherwise, Nigerian state, we have the potential, we have the capacity, we have the promise of a nation that will be great. What has been the bane of our development is, as a nation, is leadership issue, and the worst of it is the APC-led government that you have today. It's even worse than what we had before. So the issue now, and even the insecurity has also brought the issue of restructuring to the fore. People are saying restructuring. It's not actually restructuring they're asking for. They're asking for good governance. That's the point I want you to understand.
All right.
They're asking for a situation where you can be free to aspire to be wherever you want to be within the boundaries of the law. We're asking for an environment that will provide for you the basic needs that will allow you to associate with whoever you want to associate with. That will be that you can love, would love each other. That will allow you to be, as a human being, to exist as a human being. Here we don't have all those basic things available to us.
Yes,
so
and I am sure that we will
restructuring.
I am sure we will thrash out that issue at some other time and forum. But thank you so very much, the National Chairman of the Action Democratic Party, for joining us on the news at 10 tonight. In part 2, after the break, Court of Appeal reserves judgment on appeal seeking to reorder the proposed sequence of the 2019 general elections. That's in a moment. Join us again.